What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. My name is Ben Riccardi. I'm your host, and I'm the CEO of Ironclad Restoration Marketing, where I help restoration business owners get more sales just by getting their internet marketing right. Today, I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk about something that's inherently part of our everyday lives, and it should be a big part of your business, and just things you do in your everyday life, whether it's growing your business, whether it's losing weight, whether it's getting stronger in the gym, being a better parent, being less messy, a little bit more organized. I'm talking about having a goal-orientated mind frame and the problems that exist with that. So today, I want you to kind of think it's going to be a little counterintuitive, but it's going to make you think a little bit about why your goals are not that important. It's the processes that you implement and systems that you stick to that end up getting you to those goals and end up being what you need to be focusing on and ultimately become way more important than the goals that you set. So you got to remember, success really has little to do with the goals that you set and everything to do with your systems, right? Goals are the results that you want to get, but the systems are what's going to get you there. Okay. You got to think about sports, right? Most sports, let's just look at football. All right. The goal in football or basketball is to get as many points as you possibly can to win the game. But if you sat there and you just looked at the scoreboard the entire time, you'd probably go crazy. You wouldn't be able to focus on the results. You'd probably lose the game. And you're really just focusing on the goal. It doesn't make much sense. People are going to call you nuts, right? So when you think about spending the majority of your time focusing on your goals, man, I'm going to lose all this weight. I got to get my business making $3 million a year. And you neglect the systems that get you there, you're never going to achieve those goals. And you're going to set yourself up for a lot of unhappiness. And it's actually just a strategy to get you to fail. All right. And having that goal-orientated mentality does present a few problems. All right. If you've read any books like Atomic Habits, they talk solely about that. And some of this stuff is going to be a little bit of common sense, and some of it's going to be a little counterintuitive, but it all is the real deal. If you talk to any entrepreneur, any athlete, anybody that's achieved some sort of success in their life, it's not an overnight sensation, although it may look that way. People ignore all the little things that they did, all the little habits that they built to get them to ultimately hit that success, right? So focusing on goals versus your systems presents a few problems, right? Number one, winners and losers of, let's just say, a sport, or let's say somebody that's trying to get a job, they all have the same goal, right? They want to get the job. And if you think about, the goal shouldn't be what differentiates the winners from the losers. It's the systems that got them there. All right. The athletes that all want to win, let's look at golf. Every one of those guys playing in a PGA championship wants to win, right? Some of them have better systems than others, and that's what differentiates the two. It's not the goal. If that was the case, then there would be no winners or losers, right? The second problem with having that goal first mentality is, getting to that goal is kind of a fleeting moment in life, right? When you solve the problems at the results level, which would be the goal being the results, it's really just solving them temporarily, right? So if your goal is to set a goal to clean your work truck, right? You got a messy work truck. You guys just throw your stuff back in there when you're done a job. You don't really put things away. You don't have a system of organization, but it's been bugging you, and you really want to clean that work truck out, or your van, or your trailer. So you get some motivation one day. You got a slow day, and you go and you clean the hell out of that trailer and you make it pristine, right? But if you haven't changed the habits that have created that mess in the first place, well, not too long down the road, you're going to be staring at another mess inside your work truck, right? So, you're going to be clean, but if you stick with the sloppy habits, you're going to be staring at a dirty work truck, and then you're going to be looking for that motivation or a slow day to go clean it again. You're constantly chasing some sort of outcome. Always, the needle's always moving because you've never changed the system behind what got you there. Now let's look at losing weight. Around COVID time, my whole company, we were working remote. Everybody's kind of taking some time off on being healthy. We decided as a collective that we were going to implement a weight loss competition, right? But our goal wasn't to, hey, let's lose X amount of weight. Our goal was to implement systems that were going to allow us to incrementally lose weight the right way, right? But if we were just looking at the scale, standing on the scale, going on a diet and staring at it, we would have made ourselves nuts. But the success came with eating clean, investing, planting that seed, like we talked about in that last podcast episode about SEO being an investment. Well, that's kind of true for everything. And that's why the systems are more important than the goal. So we focus on the systems. We change the bad habits that caused us to get to that point in the first place. And the results were astounding. Now, they took a year, right? We were looking at this weekly on this micro level, and we were celebrating these goals. But on the macro, we actually ended up achieving our goals. So we took our focus less off the goal of, losing X amount of weight, and more on the focus was more set towards these incremental changes that we were going to make to get ourselves to this ultimate goal to be healthy. All right. And that leads us right into the third problem that we see with goal-orientated mentalities is goals and just thinking about that goal all the time. It really restricts your happiness. And I'm guilty of this myself. I do it a lot. Right? I'm just going to take it easy. I'm going to take a day off when I get there. And when I get there, when I get done, when my business is making X amount of dollars, when I lose this much weight, you're always chasing that happiness. So the goal first mentality is actually putting off your happiness in your everyday life until the next time, until the next milestone you created, right? You're creating this either or conflict. Either I do this or I failed, right? So you don't want to restrict your happiness or your satisfaction to one scenario because there's so many different paths to success. It's not linear. I'll talk towards the weight loss competition. I mean, there was some weeks where people were up, right? But if we had a goal first mentality, that would have been pretty discouraging, but we were just back on the grind. We had good systems in place. We trusted the process, or I did, and I'll speak for myself and some of my employees that had really great success. You just have to remember to fall in love with the processes and make those little 1% incremental changes on everything that you do. All right. So goals are great. We talked about this before, and I'll take a sidebar. In like 1979, Harvard did an interview. They were doing some big research about goals, right? And the systems and processes. And they basically interviewed, let's just say there was 100 graduates, right? It was a certain, like over 80% of them had, we're graduating, we're going to kind of see what happens. Really, they had no goals. They had nothing really going on, right? Then like 10% of them had goals, right? That I want to be this. I want to make this much money. But only 3% of them had goals, but they had systems and they had a plan in place to achieve those goals. And what the results ended up being is, yes, a lot of them were successful, but the 3% that had goals with a system and a plan were making like 10 times more than the other guys out there, all with the same, end result. Whether they all wanted to be doctors or they all wanted to be attorneys or something like that. The 3% that actually had a system, had a plan, had a goal, made 10 times more. And that goes right back into, having that system first mentality. You got to remember the winners and the losers, even in the restoration industry and businesses, they all have the same goal, to make money. It's the guys that make it have the right systems in place. You want to sell your business. Good luck if you don't have correct systems. So if you're one of those guys out there that is just flying by the seat of his pants, you're just grabbing leads from wherever you can get them, you're the real meat behind the business that you can never grow, and you find yourself spinning your wheels, having a hard time getting to that next level, you might want to take a look and self-reflect into your systems and what is causing you to go into the next problem, which is the yo-yo effect. Okay. So I'll speak in terms of marketing, right? And a lot of clients of ours, past and current, and people that are currently doing this stuff, they're all fall into this trap, right? They're focused on the score. They're focused on the score the whole entire time. So you create a yo-yo effect. So you work months and months and months, and you get you're number one on Google in your service area for every little thing that you do. You are dominating page one. Your Google business profile is killing it. And then you get to that goal. Well, I got my business. I'm getting all these leads coming in. I'm going to cancel with my marketing company. I'm going to stop. I'm going to just take the foot off the gas a little bit. What ends up happening is you lose that motivation. Okay. When you're just goal orientated and you work towards that goal and you get that goal, that fleeting moment, now you're like, I can relax. Or the Olympian that's work. They get to that gold medal and then they go, I can relax. They put on a little weight. They get 2% slower. And then they're basically starting from scratch when it's time to go to those next Olympic games, right? So the same thing with your business. So you start getting those leads drying up a little bit. You start saying, oh my God, let's be reactive. Let's turn it back on and let's bump. So you're just bumping up and then coming back down. You're yo-yoing up and down. You're getting success. You're getting that fleeting moment and then you're relaxing. You need to commit to the processes And the score is going to take care of itself. Bill Walsh said it. The score takes care of itself. We have to commit to the process, right? So whether you want to lose weight, whether you want to grow your business, whether you want to be a good athlete, whether you want to be a better parent, want to be more organized, I bet you if you stopped focusing on the goal, right? Just don't even think about the goal, but you focused on the processes behind getting to that point, you most likely are still going to be successful, all right? Because you're not going to rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And that's true in literally everything we do in life. But in terms of your restoration business and marketing it, all of those things kind of tie together in that omnipresent, omnichannel approach that we talk about all the time here, right? So, if you're somebody that's thinking about using SEO, or if you've been burned with SEO and you really just, hey, these guys, I'm looking every month and it's not really seeing it. The whole point is break down everything that's involved in marketing your business. And you want to make these incremental small changes, right? That 1%, like they talk about in Atomic Habits, that stuff adds up, right? So if you look at a year over year versus staring at the scoreboard the entire time, those 1% changes that you improve every single day with marketing, and we're an agency, we do it ourselves. So every client we get in, the success isn't linear. We have a few months of just ramping up and learning and breaking into the competition. It's almost like popping corn. The goal is to get popcorn, but like if you don't leave it in the microwave long enough, or if you're cooking it like old school, like I like to do on a pan, if you don't have enough oil and you don't have enough heat, nothing's going to pop, right? But it doesn't happen right away. You don't turn the microwave on, boom, you've got a bag of popcorn. So all that marketing and stuff like we're talking about, marketing's like popcorn. No, I mean, it's like a lot of things, right? It's melting ice. There's this all of these small changes that add up to a major win, right? It's building a website that's made to convert, right? That's not going to give you your page one success. That's not going to get your phone ringing, right? So now you do some on-page optimization. Well, it's great. You're a little bit closer, and you've stayed on top of that on-page optimization. But that's not going to get you that phone ringing, right? So now you've got a Google business profile that you're working on. Now you're doing monthly content. Now you are doing competitive research and you're investing into this SEO. You are heating up those popcorn kernels, right? If you think about your business as like popcorn kernels, and those calls are the popcorn that you get results from. It's all these little incremental things, but there's a point, right? It could be with SEO, it could be 3 months down the road. It might be 6 months, might even be a year if you're in a really saturated market. There's a point when you're going to hear a kernel pop. That's going to be that phone call, right? So you've added a page, you've done all this stuff. You want to get storm damage leads, and a hurricane comes through and you're on page one, and pop, you got a phone call. And then you continue with the heat and you continue shaking it, if you're like me, on the pan, on the stove, and pop, you get another one, and pop, 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 pop. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 these calls are coming in, pop, 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 pop. So your big success, all those popcorn kernels coming, or all these leads coming into you, is an aggregation of all of the other incremental changes that you've made to your business, when we'll talk about SEO, to get you to that point, right? But conversely, and we talk about that point, right, where the first one pops, like you're waiting, you're staring at this, and obviously popcorn in the microwave takes really no time at all. So this may be a bad example, but I'm hoping you get like my vision here. If you're just staring at it and you're like, oh, this ain't working, and you shut the microwave off, or you turn the pot off, or you open the lid, if you're doing it on the stove, old school, they're not going to pop. Or they'll pop, but they're not going to pop as, optimal as you would want, right? You're not going to fill the bag up. They're not going to fill the pot up. And at the same time, if you over optimize and you overdo it and you focus way too much on the wrong things, you might burn your popcorn. So there's that fine line. There is that point where that first one pops, and you've got to continue to shake, and you've got to continue to let that time marinate and let all those changes come in to get you a nice full bag of popcorn, or in our case, get you a ton of calls and a ton of leads for the things that you want to rank for on Google. All right. So if you take anything away from this episode today, start spending a lot more time thinking about creating systems that are going to get you to the goal. If your goal with your business is to make $5 million, you already know every little piece that has to go into place to make that work, right? You need the infrastructure laid down. You need a solid foundation. If you're depending on your leads only coming from referrals and you're just calling every plumber and you're beating the streets, that's not sustainable, because guess what? When you're focusing too much on that, the other things don't come into play. So you want to set these systems up that are almost automatic. SEO is one of the most automatic things that you can do. If you're hiring an agency, you've got to give it the time. If you're doing it yourself, you've got to give it even more time, because I'm sure there's going to be a small learning curve with getting this thing done right. And there's a ton of resources. It's absolutely fine to do it on your own, but you can't look at the scoreboard the entire time. You can't continuously Google yourself and like, well, I'm not on page 1 after the first month. Like, that's not the way it works. There's no such thing as a magic pill or a switch for SEO. It takes time, takes an investment, but you need to make sure you're focusing on those incremental changes to get you to that ultimate goal, which is dominating page 1. All right. So whether you're using an agency or you're doing it yourself, start focusing on your systems. Start being happy with the small changes and the small wins. Yeah, sure, I want to make $1 million, but I only have $800. That means I'm never going to be a millionaire. No, you want to celebrate. You get one job coming in, celebrate that. You have put a system into place where you're keeping your truck super clean. Celebrate that. Celebrate. Just make sure you celebrate the wins, because every single day, everywhere you look around, the blessings are there, the wins are there. And if you're implementing systems into your business, you're implementing systems into your personal life, you will achieve the success that you want. You just have to get the systems right. All right. So just remember this: you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Go out there, start looking at things that you want to improve in your life, start making those small changes, start celebrating those wins, those 1%. 1% better every single day for a year is 37 times better at the end of the year. 1% worse adds up and brings you back down to 0. That's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. You can watch a replay on YouTube. You can check this out on Spotify. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share to the channel, and let us know if there's anything we can help you with when it comes to marketing.